It was a countdown. Happy New Year! We're just pretending like, yes, there's the fireworks.
Hey!
I was going for. Worked. Yeah, it's not January 1st, but I'm still gonna pretend it is. And we just landed in a new year, and we're back. So a week later than usually, because a lot of people, how New Year's kind of like was put on the calendar this year. A lot of people were still off, including me. So a little week later, I think then now you will have less time between the next one when we resume kind of like our regular schedule. But here we are again. Yay! Hello, everyone. It's good to see you again. Brandon, Vlad, Pedro, Victor, James. Hi. Brandon, how have you been doing?
Absolutely nailed it. Doing good. I feel like it's been a long time. Last month in December, there was a tsunami warning, and I was told to evacuate. Luckily,
That's right.
the tsunami never showed up, but I learned a lot about tsunamis that day, and that the only way we can detect them is when they basically roll by our sensors on the ocean surface or the ocean floor. And so, yeah, earthquake happened. I forget exactly where, but I think Northern California. And it was like, oh, this is an earthquake that could cause a massive tsunami. Everybody needs to evacuate the coastal lying areas. It was like, all right, guess I'm out. And then, sure enough, maybe 15 minutes into when we would have been streaming, it's like, nope, we got the data now. You're good. You can return home. It's like, all right, well, I just drove an hour. So guess I'll go home and see everybody in January.
Yeah, well, it's inconvenient, but it's the best possible outcome, I think.
Yeah, I would do the same
So that's
thing
great.
next time
Yeah,
for sure. It's
exactly. Good. Yeah, and now I think you're far from that because you're in San Francisco, right? Where are you? Sorry.
yeah,
Are you?
Napa, but
Yeah,
just north of San Francisco.
exactly. Yeah, because in LA, there's now a whole thing going on. Of
Ooh,
course,
yeah,
that's the
could be
thing.
worse, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you're far from that. Vlad, what have you been up to?
Yeah, hello. Haven't seen you all for a year, so yeah, not so interesting in my life. We do not have tsunami, but yeah,
You have some other stuff.
likely, yeah. But I finally got my Raspberry Pi, so I'm inspired with all of that coding for that microcomputer. So I will try probably this summer make a smart home on my garden. Yeah, so
Awesome.
yeah, we'll see how it's going.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Pedro, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
So yeah, I came here to talk about a specific PR and also ranking with you guys a little bit for
Awesome.
the old
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, exactly. For the ones who don't know why I'm being so rude to Pedro, he left us, so he deserves it. But he was a core maintainer for a while. He was like one of the OG .NET MAUI community people, and he was like rightfully so. His priorities changed. He was like, I don't have the time to spend anymore on this toolkit like dedicated. But of course, we are all still friends. He's very welcome, and here it is to talk about a specific PR. So, still contributing from time to time. I still see you pop up, which is amazing. You actually had an amazing PR on the .NET MAUI repository as well, which is very cool, very simple. Not to disrespect your work, but very cool, simple. Um, 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 what is it? I'm totally blanked. It's so amazing. Anyway, Victor, what have you been doing in Mexico?
Well, my country things have been relaxed. Finally, some family stuff. It's now in place. I will have more time to contribute. I have been a little quiet these latest months, but getting back to action, contributing and writing articles, and maybe a YouTube channel to compete with you, Gerald.
What? You're taking me on? Okay, okay.
Just kidding.
Let's go. Let's go. No, man, please. The more content, the better. I invite you to get more subscribers, please. James, how was
I've
your
been
New Year's
great.
Day? Cool.
I've been working on writing a completely open source EPUB ebook reader,
Ooh.
and that will probably be ready in another couple of months. But basically, it's just I'm working on the features right now. It basically works, so that's what I've been up to, and it's been moderately challenging to do that.
I can imagine. It sounds simple. Put text on a screen, but I imagine there's a lot more to it.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm delighted to hear more about that whenever you're closer to readiness. A lot of friends in the chat. George, as always, our big friend George, saying hi to everyone. I see Pedro, of course. Johanna. I don't know how to say it. And I see some other people watching. So feel free to shout out in the chat whenever you have questions, comments, whatever you want to do. We're here. Let's just start with a bunch of announcements. So as always, we have our kind of like notes that I'm just reading from the other screen here, all open source because everything's open source. Why not our notes for the show with all the links that we're referring to? It's on our wiki, and Brandon is pasting the link in the chat right now. Amazing. This is all prepared. Not at all, but we're just a great team. High five. So we've got like all kinds of releases right here because .NET 9 came out. Maybe you've heard about that in November. We officially, and with we, I say Microsoft officially launched .NET 9. And because of that, there was, especially in the .NET MAUI space, a lot of changes with AOT and trimming and that kind of stuff, which has cost a couple of sleepless nights, I guess. It was a whole thing to get it ready, and then there was some bug in .NET MAUI, but it all smoothed out, and now we have these releases of MAUI Markup, the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit main package, MediaElement, Maps, Camera Element, basically all the ones that are now compatible with .NET 9 and all the new shiny stuff. And of course, included in that, a whole bunch of bug fixes. So, you have all the latest and greatest bits. But we added even more bug fixes in the meantime because that was November. I don't even know when we did the last release. It was not too long ago, but we're always working. Our great team is always working. Our community is always working, and we have more bug fixes coming up already. So we have a couple of upcoming releases for the packages that you see here: the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit main package, the camera, the maps, not the Markup one. I don't know. I think I saw something for Markup too. So we're going to talk all about that. Well, Brandon is probably. Have anything to add, Brandon?
No, I think Markup's good. I mean, just what's funny for folks watching this is we haven't talked about these releases yet, so I should have probably put a question mark here on the agenda. But yeah, there's been some quick bug fixes coming in from a couple new bugs we actually accidentally introduced in our .NET 9 PRs up here. So shout out to the community for getting in quick bug fixes for maps and Community Toolkit. There was a problem with one of the converters couldn't accept null anymore. That was a bug, fixed it. And then camera, this one on iOS, I don't think it's worthy of a 2.1, but it kind of is because it allows, it fixes a long time problem on iOS where you would take a picture and a picture would appear horizontal, but you took it vertical or vice versa. So pretty big bug. Feel bad giving it a .1, but it's fixing what should have been in place in the first place. So yeah,
I'm sure people affected do not care. They just want to fix it.
Yeah,
all right.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, I see George in the chat asking, which is a good question. Why are we going to .NET 9 and not currently maintain the .NET 8 version? I think I remember vaguely that we had a little bit more discussion about this. I guess the short answer is like, hey, if you're not aware, I actually should make a video. I'm planning to make a video of this and put it on my channel. So I can just link people to that, because this is a question that comes up a lot now. It's like, hey, .NET 8, it's an LTS version, so .NET MAUI, you need to support it until forever. Why is this bug fix not coming to .NET 8? There is no LTS in .NET MAUI. I'm sorry. If you look at the .NET MAUI support policy, it will tell you that now .NET 9 is out. .NET 8 will be supported until May of this year, and then it's over. So then .NET 9 will be .NET. I always call it kind of like .NET MAUI on .NET 9 or .NET MAUI 9, whatever. So Brandon here pulled up the official support policy for .NET MAUI, and you can kind of like see like, hey, we have this support date. It does not follow the STS LTS cycle of .NET 8 and .NET 9 and .NET 10. It just goes out of support May 14. There it is, 2025. So that's a couple of months. We're a community project. We have limited resources. Sometimes we go pretty fast. Sometimes we go pretty slow. We just do not have the resources to backport everything to .NET 8 and test all that and have all the infrastructure to kind of like have these two major versions that we need to test. And since the deadlines are so close together, of like, hey, .NET 9 comes out and .NET 8 is going to be deprecated, you want to be on .NET 9 or .NET Phoenix anyway. So that's why we kind of like go with whatever is released with a new major version. That's our focus, and then the other one is gonna kind of like drop off unless something drastically happens. Security, everything's on fire. Oh, that's not a good joke right now. You know, unless something bad happens, then we'll maybe do a bug fix, but it's not very likely. So that's kind of like the story there, I guess. Cool. Then we have the .NET. Well, actually, no, I'm skipping one over. Vlad, I think I saw your name on this. It's on the list here. The locker to lock stale issues and PRs. What's that all about?
Yeah, actually, we added a locker so we do not get notifications from an old issue that already closed. So it's just an automation job that just closes all stale issues every day. So when issue closed or when there is no actions on it, day since close will be after 1 day it will be just closed. So also sometimes this job may fail because of our limitations on using this GitHub actions. Yeah, because a lot of endpoint, a lot of calls to GitHub API, but after next day it should be green again. So that's just a reminder for people. So do not reply on old issues. It will be automatically closed now. So if you have any bugs, any suggestions, any features you want to add or discuss, just create a new issue, create a new discussion, and it is the right way to communicate with us.
Yep, that sounds great. Yeah, that's what we have a lot on the .NET MAUI repo too, where people will just add something new. I think I have all the notifications on, so I typically get it. But it's most people do not. Whenever something is closed or merged or whatever, the visibility on that is pretty low. So if you want to ask something, it kind of like feels dumb sometimes. Like, hey, this whole thing is here. We have all the context here. Open something new. Point to the old thing. Like, hey, we've talked about this here or something. That will usually get attention. Just a little bit. Cool. I love it. The .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, we have no proposals right now. So that's easy. No voting.
I think one of these might be a proposal, and I put it in the wrong spot.
Oh, there we go. Well, we'll figure that out short enough. And then we have issues. Brandon, something with the touch behavior.
Yeah. So this is one I don't know what the right answer is, and I'll bet we could find 100 people that say one way and other people that say it the other way. But long story short, the way touch behavior works is that when the touch ends, we end the animation. So we pass in a cancellation token to the animation, and when the touch ends, then the animation ends. And we'll say it was designed like that on purpose, but the bug raises an issue, and there's even a pull request opened to say that animation should continue. And so, it's one of those, like, I agree and disagree, but it's also like, we should talk about this. We should see what the community thinks. So the PR basically reverts that behavior. So it ensures the animation continues, period. And so I just don't know what the best path forward is, and want to chat about it with you guys. Cause we have samples like in the sample app, one where you do a long press and it looks like the button shrinks, or the image button shrinks. And then when you let go, the button restores, which I think looks really cool. But also totally understand folks going into this and saying, yeah, anytime there's a long press, kick off this animation. But then when the user lifts their thumb off the screen, we end that cancellation. We send out a, forget what the exception is, a task canceled exception, so that the developers can handle that. And so the idea is, when you write your code, you should catch it and then gracefully return the button, image, whatever you're animating, back to its original state. So I totally understand that it might not be, or it probably isn't intuitive. But yeah, trying to figure out what's the best way for us to move forward. Maybe there's just another implementation where we add a Boolean that says like animations continue after touch canceled. But like I said, I'm hesitant to merge this PR because it does technically break the existing behavior. And if developers have coded in that existing behavior to catch the task cancel exception and act accordingly, then we'll break their apps. So yeah, I just want to chat about with you guys because there's a couple head scratchers today that I'm just like, I don't know what the right thing to do here is.
Yeah, even before you mentioned it, my thought was kind of like, why not kind of like make it configurable? Then everyone can choose like, default behavior as it is today, nothing breaking, and then have I don't know what it is, flag, Boolean, whatever, that says like, hey, I want to complete the animation even though I actually canceled the interaction thing, something. That will be a long Boolean name. Yeah, just make it configurable. That would be my vote, but
Yeah, I'd vote for configurable too.
Yeah, but how would be the behavior? Let's say the user don't keep pressing to the animation ends and then press the button again. Then we will start a new animation. Then we will ignore any action until the end of the animation.
Yeah, I think today we'll cancel the animation, or actually no, because we cancel any existing animations when the touch ends. So yeah, oh shit, Pedro, good call. That's something new.
A second touch.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens with the Kindle e-readers. You press down and you tap it, and it changes the entire screen, and the image goes into the background. And when you touch it again, it comes back.
Yeah. So, I think it sounds like, yeah, probably the best way to move forward with this is, yeah, like Gerald said, like George said in the comments, make it configurable. So what that means for us is I can go through, I'll close this PR and let them know what we talked about and link them to the video so they can check it out. But we would need to close this bug and essentially reopen it as a proposal. So I guess my next question is, who wants to volunteer to lead this new feature proposal? Who wants to volunteer to open the new feature proposal? And then we'll find another, or we'll scoop it up when we got time, or reach out to the community to see if they're available. And we have time to turn this into a new feature proposal?
Yeah, I can at least do that.
Hey, all right. Cool. So
you all were silent long enough that I felt compelled to do this.
No, I feel like I owe George more work on Rating View, and I know James has got 7 PRs open right now that we need to merge for MediaElement. All right, thanks, Gerald. Yeah, I'll run through and close this PR after the stand-up. And George is off snowboarding.
Well, there you go. Oh, sorry. Let me very quickly add this to my to-do list so that I don't forget to copy, add, boom. Okay, there we go. Yeah, next one. So let me pull up my notes here. And speaking of all the PRs that James has open, here is one on the MediaElement notification prompt overrides. What's going on with that?
It's been completely removed, the notification request. I've actually removed the code for the actual request to get the notification, because on Android API 33 and above, when you build using that API, regardless of what your target API is, if you're using media-rich notifications and you're using Media 3 or above with the Media 3 PR, you no longer require the request for permissions, because it's assumed that you're going to allow Google to do what it wants. And Google, like, if you're using their API for media notifications, it's just assumed you're going to authorize Google to do that. So you don't actually need to ask for permission. You do need to keep it in the manifest as it requires like the foreground service and for post notifications, but it won't actually ask the user for notification access.
So James, is this? Let's see.
It's a non-issue with the
okay,
PR.
so we can close this because it's fixed in the Media 3 PR.
Well, we can close it once the PR emerges, yeah.
Or I'm sorry, because there's a PR attached to this issue, so we could close the PR.
You close the PR, yeah.
Oh, this is your PR.
No, close the PR, please.
Don't close this PR. Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
This one here, this is what I really want to. This is my big issue. This is holding up all my other PRs.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, speaking of which, any volunteers to knock out a review of this Media 3 PR this month before the next stand-up?
Yes, I will. Owning this to James since the holidays.
All right. Well, you're already on here as a reviewer, so we'll just we'll kick you again. We'll kick Copilot again. Why not? That one's free. Yeah, I love this. Thank you, James. And for everybody else, this was put on pause. We were blocked by the .NET 9 PR, so we wanted to get that in first. And then, like James mentioned, we need to update MediaElement to Media 3 for Android because Google reasons. And then we can hammer out some of the additional MediaElement features that James has been working on. So it's a very serial process right now on MediaElement, but I think this is the last blocker. Is that right, James?
This is the last blocker for about 2 of the other ones, yeah.
Awesome.
There's one that doesn't require it, though. And it's on the list here to look at today.
Love it.
Cool. Then, James, keep talking. Add support for local files and package resources because, yeah, like right now, actually we do have, I'll let you talking, but I think we do have some support for local files as well.
We do for sources. Directly for sources, we have optional for resources like your package resources, local files, but I'm thinking of for things like for the media notifications. Currently, we only support URLs for any of the documents. So, like if you have like an image URL, it works fine. But if you have a file URL, there's no support for that. If there's a resource URL, it doesn't support that directly.
Gotcha.
It's only URLs, and I wanted to add local and resource for all of the appropriate items. And the biggest issue we've had with that was literally a naming convention. Like, how are we going to name it? You know, are we going to because media source is associated with URLs for the source, but the exact same system can be used for any URL, any access that, any type of file, but it's called media source. So that's the issue I have. That's the biggest blocker I have for that. And it's specifically metadata artwork source. We can use that. But the thing is, I just have to alias the media source to do that. Yeah.
I'm just updating the top level description here. Boop. I think that's all I needed.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to add was that one thing was basically for that one thing was the meta artwork source and use the media source converter and have it as a media source in the background. Because it is involved in media, it is a media source. It's just it's a URL for something that isn't a data source. It's actually it is a data source, but it isn't a file that you play. It's an image you show.
Cool. So
like a thumbnail?
Pardon?
Yeah.
Like a thumbnail? That?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Well, yeah, I remember now. That's why I missed that detail. But that's for this property, we only have the URL support. That's right. And I think we talked about this also what the naming. Can't remember what it was, but
Yeah, I think we found a name for it. Like there, we chose one, or
see, there we go.
artwork source. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Right on. So, James, this is a new proposal. So I added it to our project board, and the next step is to champion it. Usually it's because somebody else in the community opened it, so one of the maintainers champions it. But James, I assume you'll champion this one and help push it through.
I'll champion this one for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Then the other
next
step is
that's a MediaElement.
Whoops. No, just clicked the wrong one. Thank you. Then I think the last thing is just to for us to vote on it. And let's see. Anybody have any thoughts before we do a vote to approve? Anything you don't like?
Nope, sounds good.
All right, then let's do a quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you approve and want to push forward with this. Boom, boom, boom. All right, that's majority. Cool. That was easy. So add the approve label, and I'll say, James, that means you're clear to work on it, but also we gotta catch up to all of your existing PRs, so no rush.
I'll wait till we get one or two knocked out. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, cool. Vlad, Popup 2.0.
Yeah. Let me also share my screen, and I will show what I mean with this show. Okay, so as this is an old item from 2023 about pop-ups, and I really like this implementation. You do not need any plugin, you do not need any NuGet packages to add pop-ups. We already have pop-ups. It uses different implementation for Android, iOS, other operation systems. And this approach uses just content page as a pop-up with some margins or borders from the content page. And this is how it looks like. So you can see a half transparent background, you have a pop-up, you can display it on the whole page. You can see it looks, for example, you can use this approach for the snack bar, for the toast. We also recently have some discussions about adding image to snack bar. It's not possible with our current implementation of snack bar API from Android. But if you need it, you can use like this approach of pop-up. You can use animations, whatever. Also, in our current approach, we have a lot of pop-ups. We used handlers. We have a pop-up service. We have a lot of code for pop-up. With this approach, it's much easier. Yeah, because we don't need at least handler architecture. Also, like closing pop-up, we can support many pop-ups, kind of like pop-up stack or whatever. And it's this how it looks like. Also, in my private project, I tried this approach with a bit changes. So how it works there. So I have a small method show pop-up generic.
Can you increase the font a little bit, please?
Can't see anything.
Sorry, what should I increase?
On the font on the code. Yeah.
Yeah, the code.
Zoom in.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, great. So as for pop-up extension, it's our extension for, in this case, it's shell, but it can be any page. Yeah, on any navigation where you want to show it. It can be like a navigation page, for example. So here we pass a page as a path. For example, in this case, because it's using shell go-to method, where we just pass a root for our page that we want to display, and also we pass a view model that we want to use for this specific page, right? So, and of course, we can await for this pop-up, so we can wait for the result. It can also be generic, because for now in our implementation, we return object, but in this approach, we can use like generic type and return a result for specific type for our pop-up. As for implementation, so it uses just shell implementation, so you get all benefits from it and from like .NET MAUI stuff. So as for control that we have, it's a base pop-up. It's just an extension for extended content page, right, with some stuff for background, for some presentations. So it's a modal page, right? And we override back button because, for example, we do not want to user navigate like real navigation between pages. So if it's pop-up, it should behave like pop-up. As for base view model for that, so it just receives one parameter, right? We implement iQuery attributable that receive task cancellation source that we can use just to wait for when pop-up is closed, so we can set some result and go back from this page back on stack. If we need to get some other parameters or get view model, for example, in some implementation, let's take a look at this page. For example, we only need to apply it in query attributes method and set our view model from query. So basically we need like 4 files instead of all files that we have with much more difficult handler architecture there. So yeah, and also we probably can get rid of like some pop-up services, some other stuff that we have, and just simplify that. So what do you think about the simplification of pop-up?
This actually looks really sweet, like really nice, yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate it because the complexity of pop-up, I feel like has been the biggest cause of the open bugs and things about we spent probably a year fixing layout problems on it. So yeah, I'm always against removing code. My favorite PRs are the ones that delete more code than they add. The only thing I would add in is Sean wasn't able to make it today, and he's our pop-up guy. So if anybody knows the most about pop-up, it'd be Sean. So
maybe Pedro, who initially edited. So what do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pedro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but let's say they're retired for pop-up. I know that Sean was working on the pop-up new version as well, like playing with a new approach, but not sure if he landed on a conclusion. But yeah, I mean, I am totally in for removing code, and pop-up is really, really difficult. Shout out to the cat. I can't not remember the number after that name, but he helped a lot with the pop-up. And I really, really like the approach. The only thing that I see that we will miss is the ability to anchor the pop-up to a specific country, like when the people do the tutorials and stuff like that. But I'm not sure, like if we can have 2 separate contracts, like the pop-up, and we just convert the old pop-up to be this anchor or fly out control.
It's really the only one probably change that may be broken, because I don't know if content page can display the content like that. But anyway, it's up to user. Maybe it can be. It's not like can be a anchor, but user can put this like content page with its size close to that control. It's like a workaround. So I don't know how many people use anchor feature, and yeah, if so we need to choose simplicity and like stable in terms of layout as a whole control, or adding an anchor feature. Maybe we can find how to implement it later, or maybe it can be a separate control, like anchor view, for example, that can like reuse it.
Yeah, I do agree.
That's a
But
good.
I really like the approach of using modals on that one.
Yeah, in the comments, Lucas mentioned, and I have no idea. I actually haven't used mop-ups, but is this the same
Yeah.
approach as?
It's kind of the same approach. They use a content page to present the model, but they do they control the life cycle of the model, do other stuffs. So it's kind of the same approach. But what Vlad suggested was simpler than that. Not in ways is cannot do the same thing, but in terms of the code will be easier to maintain, will be easier to read, and will be easier to extend as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I guess for action items and next steps, Vlad would be to create a proposal, and I think it'd be good to also get feedback from the community on it, because we're definitely biased as maintainers, and I definitely have some PTSD from all the pop-up PRs we've had to push through for all the edge cases. But I think the biggest thing here, like you said, is the losing the anchor. So either we see if we're able to add in an anchor to this implementation, or I also love that idea of basically changing the name of Popup to anchor view, and then making this the default implementation of Popup. So I think a couple things we need to figure out there. Also, like, will the community riot if we get rid of pop-ups, or change change the implementation of pop-ups? I mean, and then also just how are we gonna do it? Maybe there's like a phased implementation where we implement something behind a feature flag, but lots of stuff to figure out, because I think pop-ups got to be one of our most used features, or at least that's that's what it feels like with the number of issues that have been created around it over the days.
Yeah, I would say to add an obsolete attribute there, and on the message you say, hey, if you want to know more, go to the issue, or if you want to share some thoughts, go there. Like you have, I mean, I don't know how much time do we want to support the pop-up on the project, but probably on the next 10 or next measure, we remove that. So you say, hey, you have like 1 year to argue your point here to not remove. After that, you can do anything for you.
Actually, we can like first implement or release like anchor view, and people can switch to it. So, and then we can just remove the pop-up at all and just reuse a new implementation.
Yeah, or and this is probably the craziest idea, but do we need need pop-up? Meaning, when other new feature proposals have come up, if there was an existing library in the past, we've kind of said like, well, somebody already makes it, maintains it, let's recommend their library. Here, I think we had pop-up before Mo pop-ups added MAUI support, so it's a little different. We've never removed a feature because a new NuGet package came out, but kind of just throwing that out there.
We only remove them in case they go to the MAUI, not like a new package from community appears.
Yeah. So, not saying that's what we should do, but that also is
Actually,
out there.
I probably know 3 or 4 different packages for pop-ups, and they all like maintained. So maybe if we remove it at all, I don't know how many people will disagree with this approach, because it was our first probably UI control.
Yeah, is the first custom UI control.
Yeah. When I was reviewing the issues on the repository, remember that we were closing and testing all of them. Most of the issues reported were like they were trying, or were people, developers like us, were trying to render everything on the Popup. Like carousels, media elements, everything there. And I was like, no. So yes, we're going to do some icon view, or we're going to remove it anyways. We need to define the capabilities of the element analysis. Can you use the media element there? No, you cannot.
Actually, with this approach that I suggested, it will even support hot reload out of the box, because it's actually a MAUI control from it's just a content view.
Ship it. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, I actually, it's one of the benefit. I don't know if like mop-ups or other pop-ups support it.
Cool. Nice. Cool. Then, bunch of PRs. Did you want to say something last?
Yeah, I was just going to wrap it up. Vlad, if you could open up a proposal and let's, we could share it on the Blue Skies and the Twitters and get folks to chime in, because we might learn that nobody's using our pop-up anymore and everybody's using Mo pop-ups anyways. So
yeah, I will
point.
I will discuss with Sean about his approach, what he has right now. Yeah, and after that we will probably create a new proposal for that.
Cool. Then we have a bunch of PRs. Finally, Pedro.
Woo.
Let's talk. Status bar control on modal pages. I've seen a lot of stuff about this. So what's going on?
Actually, this one's ready to merge. It was more of a philosophical question where Pedro and I landed. So long story short, all the status bar code is in the community toolkit.maui.core library. And so when I was reviewing the work Pedro did here, I noticed none of it touched Microsoft MAUI controls. So I was like, oh, great. I'll just throw it in the core library. Plus, I was like, that's where all the status bar code is anyways. But yeah, Pedro mentioned on the core project, we want to have everything public. And I went looking to see if we had written it down somewhere. Like, I remember hearing this before, certainly. This isn't the first time I've heard this mentioned, but really, this PR is ready to merge. But the question to the group is, for communitytoolkit.maui.core, should we make everything public? If so, I can add that to our contributing ND file, and I'll add one more commit to this PR where we just add the public keyword and we're good to go. But did I miss anything, Pedro?
No, I would like just to give some context also about this PR, because that one is getting trouble on the other third-party controls. So like Telerik ones and other controls. So a little bit of context. I shared on the private chat a link to the MAUI pull request that changed the model implementation. So what happens there? Like on Android, before the .NET MAUI uses a fragment manager and a fragment to present models on Android, and now we changed that for dialog fragment. And I worked on chain with that. And the idea is to make modal navigation more fluent and natural on Android, like following the Google guidelines. But there is a small break there, because dialog fragment has its own window, and this window is different from the activity window. So when you change the properties and configurations on your activity, it is not reflected on the dialog fragment. So you need to configure that all again and pass that all again by yourself. And that kind of break the implementations of the status bars ones, because when you change the status bar color, you are changing the window color of the activity, and the dialog fragment comes up with the default values there. And other controls like Telerik ones, on some issues that I saw on .NET 9 also having trouble, like presenting the view or the content behind the model one. And this PR has introduced services that you can register on your Android fragment lifecycle and control the behavior of that dialog fragment. So in terms, it's kind of experiment to see if that will work, and probably on the net 10 that I will move that to the .NET MAUI itself to be like in one place for third-party vendors and people to control how they would like their models to behave and look. So this is the cause of that PR on the community toolkit. Basically, right now fixing the status bar, but probably can extend it to fix any other mobile issue on Android.
Yeah, and I was just gonna pull up just to show the changes here because it's actually pretty cool. Of course, Pedro did an awesome job on it, but if you've ever done any Android stuff, where is that? What am I looking for? Here we go. Boom. So he's got, or I thought there was isn't there an Android XML file in here? Or am I just totally making stuff up?
No, there is no XML file there.
Oh, never mind. Well, what's going on here, Pedro? Because I don't know. But
so yeah, basically we have just there is a callback that we register on the community toolkit side, and we have an interface and a service. Like we have our default services, but we will also provide an interface for that services. So developers, if they don't like the way that we change that, or they want to customize on their own way or extend that, they just need to implement that interface and register that on the builder, and they are good to go. Like on the happy path, and the model will work as expected.
Yeah, so it looks like this option will be true by default. So should use status bar behavior on Android modal page will be true by default, but you can set it to false, and like Pedro was saying, you can pass in your own implementation because you can see here we're essentially just passing in. Whoops, I didn't want Copilot. Yeah, we're just passing in our dialog fragment service that Pedro made. But if you implement your own iDialog fragment service, then you're good to go. So yeah, it seems super flexible. It's breaking, but not really because we're broken and we're fixing it. So yeah, I love it. Like I said, the only question I had was kind of that philosophical question around make everything public because it's in the core library, or should we? Is it cool to have some internal things in the core library?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I tried to find on the history, but I didn't find anything right, like the written about that. But I remember about some discussions because we mentioned like if in the future we have a community toolkit .blazor.maui or something like that, that MAUI hybrid, then can use the core project, and then because that everything should be public because all other projects should use and access what is on the core. And at the beginning of the implementation of the architecture, the core was the same idea of the Microsoft.maui.core, and everything on the core is public because also MAUI is a UI framework that you can use, but it's also a framework in Guinea, cross-platform in Guinea. So like if you want to create your own cross-platform framework, you can leverage all the MAUI .core and create your own framework on top of that. For example, the Comet or I forgot that one about the MVU partner. I believe this is the Meteor, or the Meteor is the debugger. I can't remember right now.
Yeah, it was Comet. Yeah. All right, cool. What does everybody else think? Or what would you prefer, Gerald? I'll say the only hesitation I have is, or the only downside to making everything public is everything public needs to be documented and unit tested. But for this one PR, it's trivial.
Yeah, and there's no like that's also kind of like we have the situation from time to time with .NET MAUI 2, and where we kind of like, and that's how I like have it kind of like more closed by default, because everything that's public you can kind of like never take back, right? Unless it's like a breaking change. And never is a strong word, maybe, but at least it will be harder. And for the community toolkit, it's a little bit easier than for a product like .NET MAUI. Yeah, I don't see any real objection in this case. So makes sense.
All right, looks like it's a couple votes for keeping everything public and updating our contributor docs. James, Victor, Vlad, any votes against it?
I'm not voting against it. I agree that it's probably a good idea. I'm just thinking about all the work involved.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to dig back in. I mean, I'm happy updating our contributing.md file to include that note. So we have it written down this time. And then, yeah, it's a good point, James. I'll run through the core project and see if anything's internal that we need to light up. Yeah, George. I mean, that's the concern, right? It's like, well, this is just internal. You guys weren't meant to subclass it and use it like that, and now we get bugs open. But maybe we, I think for the core library, I think we have some. Well, once we document it, we can at least point to something like, hey, everything here's public for these reasons, but you're using it wrong. I think could be a valid issue closing statement. But yeah, that's probably the biggest repercussion is, we'll have somebody note a bug because they're using it wrong.
Yeah.
But
And you already have something like that with the analyzer that tells people that when they forgot to add the user community toolkit on the builder, and because they are using our library on their own libraries, and then become a mass dependency graph. So that will happen anyway. People using things not the way that we expected they use.
Always does. All right. Yeah, I say let's push through with that. I'll update the contributing MD file after we jump off, and then I'll have to do one more commit to this PR, unless Pedro, if you want to do it while we're live. I'm sharing my screen, so I can't. But yeah,
you're not sharing your screen. You don't see anything. You can do anything you want. Oh, now you do. Yeah, so we're quickly running out of time. We actually have a couple of minutes left, so let's see if we can go over them a little bit more quickly. I see the status bar. Did you want to say anything else? I think we wrapped this one up, right? Status bar behavior does not occupy entire notch fix. So, I know about this one. Okay, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So here's how I'll describe this one. I'm going to share the entire screen. And hopefully this comes across. Let's see. Share the screen, bring it back on. I was just sharing the window, but if I zoom in, see this little space here? Here, you can even, none of these windows actually go to the top of the screen. And
annoys the hell out of me. Yeah.
Right. So it appears to be how iOS/macOS is designed now, because what is being highlighted, is this the PR? Let's go back to the issue, because that's what's being highlighted in the issue is that, let's see, there it is. So specifically, the example gets really bad on modal pages, which don't get all the way to the top of the notch, but I don't know what the answer is on this one, because it feels like iOS and macOS are now designed to have a space there on purpose. And even reading through the iOS design docs, this issue's gone through a couple iterations where I think somebody first reported it on our repo, and then somebody's like, no, this is a MAUI bug, and they reported it on the MAUI repo, and I think the MAUI team looked into it. It's like, no, we're doing everything right the way Apple wants us to. And so here we are.
If you scroll up a little bit, because there was there's a screenshot for the expected behavior. There was 3 screenshots in a row. I don't know if it was up or down.
Oh, that was the PR. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, that was the PR. Oh, there we go. Because kind of like if we look at the far left one, I think that's Safari or something, which is like a built-in thing. It seems to have a little bit more height than ours.
Interesting. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. Huh.
So just going by that, I would say we're doing something wrong. No, but there's something going on at least.
Yeah.
Because I noticed this. I noticed this behavior from when I was working, I think, on the Blazor hybrid workshop, where I ran into the same thing, and I fixed it with like, oh, I'll just make the, I don't know, background color the same color, and boom, it was done. No, it's not something stupid like that. But yeah, I think there is something that we should do here. Like I said, especially in comparison here, you can see like, hey, that's kind of like my go-to thing with like cross-platform development, right? Like, how does the native built-in apps of Apple or Google, how do they do it? And then kind of like compare what we're doing, and then you can kind of like see like, okay, something's wrong or something is not wrong. And in this case, it kind of like seems like, you know, I'm not sure if we're doing something wrong or what the actual thing is, but it seems that there's at least some kind of like difference in behavior here. So
interesting. Yeah. No, I love you pointing out that's Safari. So
I think it is. Yeah,
Apple's
probably,
doing it.
Yeah, looks like it.
It looks like it. I'll double check on my phone just to be sure, but I do want to highlight real quick. Let's see. I dropped in a workaround just in case anybody's stuck. Dang, did I put in the issue? But basically, it's most noticeable on modal pages. And where is it? There we go. Cool. So on iOS, Apple recommends we use page sheet for modal pages anyways. So it's not the default in MAUI. You have to either set it in C# or XAML. But basically, I'm sure you've seen it, or anybody that has an iOS device has seen this, where the page opens up almost like in front. So this is what Apple wants us to do anyways for our modal pages. So just in case anybody is stuck on this currently and looking for a workaround, this is what I recommend. But yeah, let's go back to this topic. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd have to look in kind of like the implementation of what's going on here, but at least it seems more correct the afterwards. I don't know, just seems like we forgot to include one kind of like small thing in what makes up kind of like a status bar height there or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, and let's check out, I haven't looked at the code in a while. I think we marked this for discussion in the last stand-up, but yeah, you can see what they're doing is essentially adding in like the window safe area. So if we do push forward with this, and it sounds like we are, the couple hesitations I have is, you know, there's a lot of areas where there's a lot of edge cases. So, you know, we've already talked about modal versus non-modal, but you know, what if somebody has the safe area insets turned off for the page they're on? Does safe area inserts.top automatically go to 0, or is it still the same pixel height for the safe area, whether it's on or off? So I think there's some testing needed for this, and we should add some stuff to the sample app. But that was my other hesitations. It feels like there's some gotchas here, or edge cases.
I'm also having the same concerns there.
That's funny because it's on an edge. Yeah, it's not getting any better. It's 10 p.m. Okay, it's 10 p.m. This is all I got. Yeah. So okay, but I think
Mark
kind of
is
like
leaving.
the takeaway here
Doesn't like the jokes.
is yeah. No, I get that. I'll leave, and the other people can stay here. I think the takeaway here is that there's work to be done here. If this is the right implementation, I don't know about that necessarily. We need to probably have a second opinion on that, have a look at that. But it seems that we need to do something here because the kind of like the gap at least should be smaller than, I guess. The height of the bar should be higher.
Agreed. Gerald, who worked on this on the MAUI team? Do you know? 'Cause I saw an issue and somebody responded and was basically like, we're just doing what Apple tells us to do. So close.
Yeah.
But maybe they
I don't
have
know.
some more insights too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll put that on my to-do list as well to have a look at. See, I've been in touch with Kubaflow a little bit too, so I can maybe talk to him directly, see what his thoughts are. Yeah, just assign it to me. I'll put it on my. Where's the link?
Awesome.
That's where we are.
Thanks, Gerald.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. Next, Jay, I think we talked about the Media 3 one, right? So we can kind of skip that.
Yeah, we can skip Media 3.
Yep. We're doing that. It's amazing. It's going to be great. Subtitle support, I think that's in the works for a little while. Where are we at with that?
That's ready for review now, finally. I tried another implementation to work on it, but it had some breaking changes that were like, basically, I mean, breaking as in they wouldn't work. So I have to go back, like the implementation I have there that I as an example does work. So would have to go with that one. So people would have to look at that and see what they think of it. But the one I want to talk about specifically today, if I have time, is the update transport controls.
You got it.
They updates it so that when it has a full screen button now. If you look at the image
nice.
for
This one?
Yeah. And so that means like we have a lot more control over the buttons. And basically all I did was I imported a XAML resource dictionary.
Nice. This is only on Windows. Gotcha.
Well, it's for Windows. Yeah, it's specifically an update for Windows transport controls. I couldn't find any links because I don't think we have any control over the iOS or the Mac one. The Android, I don't know. I mean, they all look identical to me. I really don't see any difference between the two. But I don't see any way to access anything other than the Windows controls. And it just simply adds functionality existing in the other implementations. iOS, we have a full screen button on the controls. Android, we do too, but Windows is something up in the right corner because, well, I didn't know how to do this at the time.
Yeah, so this removes that custom implementation then, James?
No, it just removes the button and moves the controls that we put in place into the new XAML file and puts a button like that little, you see that little full screen button there is basically the implementation moved from our button to the new XAML file.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you need from us? Are you blocked, or is this blocked by Media 3?
No, this is not blocked at all. I was just hoping I wanted more feedback. See, like, are you happy with this implementation? Does that look appropriate to you guys, or?
It looks so good that it doesn't look custom. I mean, that is a compliment in the best way possible.
I copy-pasted the Windows 10 SE kit relevant files and just updated them to match what we wanted.
Cool. It looks great to me. I haven't, or maybe I have reviewed the code. I don't know. I see my name here, but is anybody who hasn't volunteered for something yet want to team up with James to give this review and give it a merge?
I volunteered twice now. I'm done.
I can do it with him.
All right.
That'd be great, yeah.
Actually, was that Victor?
I was, yeah. Said.
Okay.
I like working with Victor. I worked with Victor before.
There you are. I always forget your username, Victor. I literally have to Google it every time.
So complex, sorry.
I always search for Victor instead of Hugo. But Gerald does the same thing to us with Gerald.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I would have changed it. Okay, it's now too late.
I'm actually thinking about changing my GitHub handle to the Code
Oh, you
Traveler.
are? Oh my
I know
goodness.
it's going to be catastrophic because I have like so many blog posts and stuff referencing code. But all right, I think there's one more thing for. Let's see. Where is the screen? There we go. Let's see. So MAUI markup. Oh, right. So yeah, VJ opened up this cool proposal that I've already volunteered to champion it. So long story short, let's see. Does he have the old proposed? Okay, so there's a couple layers to this. In the markup library, normally this is how we would do bindings. We would say we want to use this bindable property, and then here's how we want to handle it. So here's our getter that retrieves the property from our view model, and here's the setter to set the value anytime that property changes. But also, we have the concept of default properties. So for example, 9 times out of 10, when you're binding to a button, you're probably binding to its command property, or maybe label's a better one. Like if you're going to bind to a label, you're probably binding to its text property. So we have defaults defined in the library so that you can say things like, well, here, this is a picker, but you can just point directly to the property, save yourself some code. But if I'm being honest, I never went back and updated default properties for this new syntax that uses the typed bindings. And there's something else cool in here where you can see where we have to manually define a setter. And it feels kind of redundant because probably 99 times out of 100, you're going to set to the same property you're going to get from, more than likely. So VJ's also added in some logic here that if you don't define it, so if the setter is null, then, well, heck, we can look at the binding mode and see, like, is by default this a two-way binding, or did the developer manually set this as a two-way binding, meaning you're going to want to have a setter, and then just set that automatically for us. So wanted to raise this to a vote to see, well, also see if anybody has thoughts around this, because I think looking back on it, I kind of wish we never had these default bindings, but I get it. Like, this is very verbose, whereas like this binding, like if I'm reviewing code, I would look at this and go, I don't know what you're binding to. It's hidden. It's under buried in the source code, but it's already in there. So I like that VJ is proposing to improve it, and I think we can take this this default setter implementation and also implement it in all of our type bindings as well. So yeah, what do you guys think? And if everybody's cool with it, we can move on to a vote.
This actually looks like a really good idea, but I kind of imagine the sort of issues we could come into with people implementing it incorrectly.
With the default bindings?
Yeah, I mean, like we would have to be pretty detailed in the in what you're allowed to do.
Yeah, well, like I said, the default bindings already exist. So this essentially enhances an existing thing. And, you know, in a future PR or a future proposal for, I would say like, this would be like .NET 10 or 11 or 12, we could talk about removing default bindings. But yeah, at least for the scope of this one, VJ is improving it. And I want to chat with him about also using this default two-way bindings for all type bindings, not just the default ones.
That I agree with. That seems like a really good idea.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do a quick show of hands. All in favor of approving this and moving forward? All right. Congratulations, VJ. we are moving forward. And I think this is the last one. So I'll stop sharing my screen while I clean this up and we can wrap it up.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. I'm just looking at the list here. Nothing else. Community Q&A. I think we did that just, while talking here. We just pull you in. Sean just joined. I see. Maybe I missed that. Sean, nice to see you right before the end. Very helpful. Nice. I'm kidding. I love you, Sean. Actually, I'm going to see Sean in a couple of weeks at NDC London, so that's going to be great. Yeah, thank you all for joining. We're going to be back in 3 weeks, like I said, typically just resuming our regular schedule every first Thursday of the month, right after the .NET MAUI community stand-up, which has been like 2 hours before this too. So that's going to be great. We're going to be back in February. I actually have to see if I'll be there because I think I'm in Stockholm that week, but we're going to see. Maybe I'll be live from Stockholm. So make sure to catch us then for all the latest and greatest, all the releases, all the amazing .NET MAUI community toolkit goodness. Thank you so much all for joining. Pedro, good to see you again. Hope to see you more often here. Brandon, James, Victor, Vlad, see you next month.